Welcome and thank you for joining me for the Digestion Protocol, how I healed my digestion without drugs or doctors. My name is Grace Gravestock, and I am not a healthcare professional. I always thought I might be because I healed myself of skin cancer and of all these different health issues of oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. I healed myself of migraine headaches that I had for 18 years, and I rebuilt my digestion and my immune systems. And all of that was about rebuilding my gut. So that's the story that I'm going to share with you tonight. I did this without drugs or doctors, although I will tell you that one of my main teachers was Dr. Rita Marie Loscalzo, which runs the Institute for Nutritional Endocrinology here in Austin, Texas, where I am, and she has a whole team of coaches that are fantastic. I thought at one point I was going to become one of those coaches, but I had an epiphany during one of her trainings and I realized that I am here to be a different kind of coach. So now I help people going through a health crisis to learn who they really are and how to know themselves, love themselves, and learn self-care. So there's a lot of overlap between what I learned in my health and what I teach in my coaching program. But I'm speaking to you now from just my personal experience. I'm not claiming to be an expert. Hi, I see you, Araceli, and I see you, Giselle. So we have I know Giselle has a lot to share as well. And so we might, if we have questions at the end that I can't answer, Giselle, I might defer to you. So I'm going to share a little bit more about my personal health journey and what I learned. I'm going to focus on just the practical stuff. And so but I'll tell you just a brief bit about the philosophy that I'm coming from. I heard this quote a long time ago, and it really helped me to change the way I think about my health. And that is, the answers you get depend on the questions you ask. So for me, I was coming from a perspective of a family that was my parents were health reformers, and oh good, Peg is here too. She is also very knowledgeable. And so if you have any questions that I can't answer, I know that Giselle and Peg are here, so that's awesome. Just a second, people are joining and I want to make sure they get in. Okay, there we go. So the answers you get depend on the questions you ask. So as you deal with your own personal health challenge, I want you to remember that the questions you ask are going to determine the answers that you see and hear. So it all depends on what you're willing to accept. I am grateful. First of all, just this quick disclaimer, what I'm going to share is not medical advice. It's simply the sharing of my personal experience and what's worked for me. So I do recommend that you consult with a healthcare practitioner before taking on any health changes. I'm not going to say that I'm a healthcare wizard. I'm just somebody who has made a lot of improvements in my own health without drugs or doctors, and it is my intention tonight to share with you what has worked well for me. And I will also say that there is no one size fits all answer. I used to believe that there was, and I thought if everybody would just do these things that I was learning, that everyone would be healthy. What I teach now in my personal transformation program is that we're all different. And I understand that from the perspective of what I call an energy blueprint. And so that's not the topic of this call, but just to help you understand where I'm coming from. My belief is that everything is fixable, is healable. I mean, well, I'll say 99.9%. I have heard all kinds of stories and read all kinds of stories when I was going through the throes of my own serious health challenges, where I realized, and I was wondering if I was going to make it, and I can tell you that I did. And one of the things that I learned as I studied with different doctors, naturopathic doctors and health coaches, is that you have to first want to get well. And a lot of times when people get sick, they're actually doing it as an unconscious response to maybe a death wish or something. And I'll be honest with you and tell you that there was so much that happened earlier in my life that I remember saying, I just want to die. I just want to check out. I just want to kill myself. And so when we say those words like that, our subconscious or God, or I don't know, depending on your belief system, how you would interpret it, I believe that there is that our bodies respond to the words that we speak. And if we say those things, like cancel clear, that's not what I meant to say right now, then those are the things that we're going to invite into our life. And I certainly want to only invite health and healing into my life. And I say that because I want you to consider that as well. The words that you speak are very important, and the beliefs that you hold about whether or not you can get well are really key to whether or not, the changes that can happen with any kind of diet or lifestyle changes. So what I'm going to share with you is a little bit about my story, my process, and my challenge to you. And it's pretty logical and straightforward, the process that I went through. I had to figure out what is the problem, what is the possible solutions, and then you have to commit to the change. Of course, plan how you're going to make the change. And the key things really, once you do those interim steps, are stop feeding the bad guys and start feeding the good guys. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. And then there's the replenish, so maintaining the plan. That's really what it comes down to in a nutshell. So we'll get more into the details in a minute. A little bit more about my story. So I had really bad migraine headaches for more than 18 years, and it was familiar to me to take a whole handful of ibuprofen and just toss them back on a almost daily basis, certainly on a weekly basis. And I was in pain for almost all the week, and most of the weekend I would spend it in bed. I had a lot of chronic pain, and I was trying to figure it out. And that's really what drove me to make all the health changes that I made in my diet, because I was just frankly I just wanted to die because the pain was so bad. And I figured, but I knew on some level that there must be a solution. And so that's really what drove me. Now, the good news is, I'll give you the what's it called? The spoiler alert. So I no longer have headaches anymore. I've rebuilt my digestion, and I've addressed the real root of my headaches, which when I made this presentation 5 years ago, I did not yet understand. But I will tell you today that the secret to me, and I'm not saying that this is the answer to you, but I would strongly encourage you to consider the possibility. The answer for me for my headaches was getting out of my mind and into my body, starting to listen to my physical body. And today I teach something called human design, which really teaches you how to listen to your body. And when you do, you'll find that you have the answers that you need. So I'm not saying that we don't need help. I'm not saying that we shouldn't get the help that we need and get advice from people who know. But what I am saying is that you probably know more than you realize about your own health, and it might be time to start to spend some time alone, either in prayer or meditation, or however you understand that, so that you can really see if some of the answers are coming to you. Because if I would have done that early on, I could have saved myself years and years of pain. But what was happening for me is I was stuck in my head, and I was detaching from my physical body, and that showed up for me as pain, because my body was trying to tell me not to do that, to listen. Okay, I see that someone is Araceli is having issues uh, with with audio, but it seems like everybody else is okay to hear. So I'm going to just keep going. Yeah, thank you, Peg. Peg has a lot of expertise to share, and so does Just Sell. So we'll talk about that at the end for people who want to reach out to someone who might be able to help. Oh, good. Somebody, okay. Araceli says she's having issues with the audio. Okay, I'm going to suggest reboot and log in again. That always helps me. Okay, let's just keep going. This was what was in my fridge 5 years ago. My fridge was full of all these probiotic drinks and products, and they really saved my life. I feel like they made a big difference in my health. And so I learned to find ones that I trusted. And what's funny about this is today, most of these are available in multiple places. I had to get them only in Whole Foods about 5 years ago, but now you can get all these products just about anywhere in most health food stores, even in Sprouts, in Natural Grocer. This Cavita is my absolute favorite #1 liquid probiotic drink. I absolutely love it, and I'll show you what's in my on my counter today. So this was on my counter 5 years ago. I was making all my own probiotic foods. Well, I was buying them a lot, but then I realized that I could make them myself, and it's a lot cheaper. So I got this thing called Perfect Pickler, and if you put your email address in the chat, I will send you the slides, which also have a reference section at the end, which will give you references for a lot of the stuff that helped me and where you can go for more information. So just put your email address in the chat and I will send it to you. But what I wanted to say with this, I was kind of laughing as I was thinking about it today, that today this wild brine organic raw sauerkraut, I bought this at Costco. I mean, it's so mainstream now, this gut health, that I'm just excited to see that at such a mainstream place. And this Kavita, this is the large size Kavita. I got this at Walmart and it's a good price, six something for this whole quart of my favorite probiotic drink. Absolutely love it. And I do make cold pressed coffee once in a while. So when I was really healing my gut, it was one of the things that I had to give up. But once I healed my body, I feel like I can handle a little bit of coffee. So the reason that I'm saying that, I'm not trying to say that coffee is or isn't good for you. I'm just saying that when I was really sick, I had to be very, very careful about what I ate. Literally, one little bite of a cookie, a regular white flour, white sugar cookie, would just throw me over the edge, and I could be sick for a week when my immune system was weak. And now that I've healed my gut, I'm much stronger and I can eat all kinds of things. I'm not saying you should eat, bad things, but when your system is strong, your body is designed to be able to handle some variations once in a while. So yeah, perfect. Yeah, we'll get to kefir and stuff like that in just a minute. So these are some of the things you can get at just about anywhere. Bubbies is a type of pickles, and also sauerkraut. That these are my favorite things. And the reason that I really want to highlight them is because what healed me the most was two things. Well, actually, I'm going to get into them in just a second. So let's talk about oops. My process. Yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my process. And here's your assignment. While you're listening to this presentation, I'd like you to listen for at least 3 things that you can do, you can try or research, so that as a result of what you hear today, you can either do them yourself, like take notes on action items for you, or something that you can share with a friend or family member who may be able to benefit. Because these are all food-based solutions that are pretty safe for everybody. Of course, feel free to check in with your healthcare provider before you do any of these things. Although I'd really think that most people could do this and not be hurt at all, because they're food-based things. But really, I want to say this before we get into the details. Your health issues or issue, whatever it is, it can either be a blessing or a curse for you. When I had the migraine headaches for 18 years, I tell you that I thought it was the worst curse. And I thought, why did I get this awful chronic pain that nobody else has, and I just feel like I want to die all the time, and I just don't understand why I got this curse. Well, that was victim thinking, and that's where I was for many years. And today I have a different way of thinking about it, and I see it as a blessing. It was actually a blessing that my body was able to give me these signals to say that something was wrong. And had I listened to my body, I wouldn't have had pain for so many years. And that was really the big thing for me that helped me more than anything else. Even all these physical things that I'm going to share with you, they're very practical, that anyone can do, and they absolutely will help most people. But the biggest shift that I made was getting out of my mind and into my body. And so whatever your health condition is, I encourage you to think of it as, ask yourself, is this a blessing or a curse? And if you choose to see it as a blessing, you will see some amazing things that happen. You will start to see answers. You will start to see solutions. You will start to meet people who give you the advice that you need to be able to find the solutions that you need. So again, the questions you ask will lead you to the answers that you seek. So be careful the questions that you ask, and be conscious of your way of thinking about your health condition, whatever it is. I've studied health for almost 20 years now, and I can tell you that it really boils down to 2 simple things for me. And that is that our bodies are designed to heal themselves. But just like this cup of water that's overflowing, when we have too much going in that's not going to fit, like too much toxins, We got to get some of the toxins out. In this case, it would be let some of the water out, make space for something new. And in my case, for the digestion, I was eating too much. I didn't realize, but you need to eat what Donna Donna Gates is the author of the Body Ecology Diet, and I'll have a reference for that in the slides that I'll show you at the end. But her book was one of the things that helped me most, Donna Gates' Body Ecology, and she says that you have to basically get rid of the bad stuff and eat more of the good stuff. So getting rid of the bad stuff can be toxins, it can be parasites, it can be extra weight, it can be eating too much at a meal so that your digestive system isn't overwhelmed. So making space for something new is important. And the other thing that I wanted to highlight is this picture represents emotions. I do believe that emotions are at the root of just about all of our health challenges. And I know this may sound controversial to some. Again, this is just my personal belief based on my own personal study, but I have seen, and I think if somebody could put in the chat, there's a book that references this. I'm trying to think of her name, but she was popular in the 70s, and I think in the 80s, and she was one of the first people that healed herself of all kinds of things. And so she's written books. There's a lot of books on this now, actually. Feelings Buried Alive Never Die, and anyway, there's some other ones. If you think of a good book that you understand what I'm talking about, put it in the chat, because there's lots of books that show the correlation between emotions that are not processed and the consequence on our health. And there's correlations with specific kinds of body parts and body issues and specific emotions. And so that was really amazing for me. For instance, some of my friends, and I thought I had breast cancer at one point, and I know a lot of other people who have struggled with that. And really the emotional thing behind that is not being able to express or receive nurturing. So a lot of times people have issues with their parents or their parenting or with their children, and those unresolved emotions and issues are actually at the root of their breast cancer, even though they try to deal with all the physical symptoms, and there's all kinds of paths you can take for that. And I'm not saying anything about the path that you would choose to do that, but what I would say is that you consider the emotions that may be unchecked, that might be at the bottom, at the root of your health condition. That was certainly one of my biggest lessons yes, the mind-body connection. Thank you, Giselle. So it really boils down, when we're talking about gut health, to good bacteria versus bad bacteria. And I hate to dumb it down and make it too simple. I mean, there's a lot more. I'm not the science person that's going to give you all the scientific background. Really, for me, I just needed to understand conceptually what was going on. And for me, it was just it's a balance. So there's either how much good stuff are you putting into your system versus the bad stuff. And so again, that's where the things that you are consuming that may be a block for you, maybe it's wheat, dairy, corn, soy. There's, sometimes it's shellfish, peanut butter. There are certain things, there's allergens, there's blood type diets, there's all these different ways that we can look at what is good or bad. I'm putting in air quotes for us. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to the good guys versus the bad guys. Who are you going to feed? And so what I learned when I studied for many, many months, days, years, it felt like forever, was it really comes down to this. And if you can get this one concept, this is going to help you with every choice that you make. Everything that you put into your mouth, is this going to feed the good bacteria, or is it going to feed the bad bacteria? And when we talk about good and bad bacteria, I also want to mention antibiotics. A lot of us have been told that we need antibiotics, and I don't want to argue for or against that right in this session. But what I will say is I've personally never had antibiotics, and I chose that intentionally. And the reason is because I understand and did even then understand that when you take an antibiotic, what it does is it wipes out all the bacteria in your body. I mean, it doesn't distinguish between good bacteria or bad bacteria. It's like having a forest fire. And so what happens when you have a forest fire? Well, some of the trees that you want to keep, they get burned down. But also the weeds that you wanted to get rid of, they also get burned down. But everything gets burned down. And it takes a lot of time for all those plants to grow back. And that's kind of what happens when you take a broad antibiotic. It just wipes everything out. So it's important when if you have taken an antibiotic, maybe there was a good reason for it. Again, I don't want to argue with anyone about that, but what I would say is how you can address that is every time you put something into your mouth, you want to ask yourself, will this feed the good guys or will it feed the bad guys? And the ones that are going to be feed the bad guys are usually sugar and usually wheat and some of the allergens that are going to make it harder for your body to process the way that it needs to and to do its job. So this is just another way to say you've got the good guys and the bad guys. And besides the physical bad guys that we might be putting into our body, like bad food, there's other things like alcohol, stress, unbalanced diet, being as we age, medications that we take, all these things are factors that can affect the bad bacteria, can feed them. So as you put things into your mouth, again, the bottom line question is, will this feed the good guys or will it feed the bad guys? And that's ultimately what it comes down to, or what it came down to for me was the balance, getting that balance right, because your body is made to heal itself. That is my belief, and I am absolutely convinced of that. My stepmom is a naturopathic nurse, and she's helped all kinds of people recover their health from every possible type of health condition you can imagine. And I have seen her over the years do this, and we've had lots of conversations. There's all kinds of tools now available too that can help. But the bottom line is, I want to give you hope. I do believe that if you are determined enough, and you're willing to address all the different facets, it might be diet, it might be lifestyle, but it also might be emotions, and there might be some other things in there. But if you're truly willing and you're seeking the answers, then I do believe that you can find them. So that is my belief about that. For me, the issue was candida yeast overgrowth and digestive dis-ease. And so I wanted to find the connection between the high blood sugar and the candida yeast overgrowth and the digestive dis-ease that I felt. And so again, it comes down to the friendly bacteria and the unfriendly bacteria. And so I was pre-diabetic at one point. I had high blood sugar. And so what that means is the sugar, the blood is thick and it's like got sugar in it. Literally, it's not being processed out the way it should, which feeds the bad guys, the bad bacteria, which gives you candida yeast overgrowth. Now, I'll tell you that before I understood this, I was just on a mission to just get rid of all the candida yeast in my body. This, whatever it was, a candida yeast, I didn't understand it, but I was mad that it was there and I wanted to get rid of it. But here's the thing, your body actually needs it. Your body needs all this stuff to function because it's about being in balance. It's not about getting rid of all this candida stuff in your body, because it actually, one of the functions of the bad bacteria is it eats a lot of the waste products. And so there's actually, that's probably a very simplified way of saying it, but this is my understanding. And there's a function that everything plays in our body. And the bottom line is it needs to be in balance. So what do we do? How do we make it? How do we balance it out? So let's talk about it. For me, what helped me was to really start recognizing what I was putting into my body. So I created a daily health journal with Google Forms. It's free, it's easy to set up. You can Google it and say how to create a maybe a health journal, or how to create a form. If you Google that, you'll find instructions. And actually, if somebody really wants me to send you the links, I can send you a link to the video to show you how to do it. But it's free. It's easy for anyone to set this up. And so what I did is I set up something called my daily health journal. I can send you a link to it if you want to see all the crazy things that I was measuring at the time. It's a lot more than I would measure now, but I was just really trying to get a lot of data points. And so what that led me to, and you can't see the details, but you get the idea here, is all these bar charts and graphs and just a lot of data. And I started to see patterns in what was happening to me based on the things I was putting into my body and how it was affecting the rest of my health, like my sleep, like my bowel movements, like my dehydration levels, like my blood sugar levels. And this was really instrumental for me learning how my body works and how all these things fit together. So doing something like a daily health journal, there's all kinds of forms available. There's apps nowadays, but this was before apps were available. I created my own. And so that really helped me. So I'm not pushing any one thing. I'm just saying this helped me, and that might be a solution for you as a starting point to start to see what's cause and what's effect in your body. So now let's get into the practical stuff, 10 things you can do to immediately reduce or eliminate gas, bloating, and other abdominal discomfort. So what I found in my studies was that when we get gas or bloating or other abdominal discomfort, it's simply the body's way of saying that something is out of balance. That's all. That's what it means. And if we can listen to our bodies and learn to tune in and get the messages and act on them, then we can avoid a lot of the problems, the so-called problems. And sometimes it's your body saying, "Hey, don't eat that extra, that second portion or that third portion." And for me, that was hard to get past because I really like to eat, and I found that I was eating too much, and that in order for my digestive system to heal, I had to eat only up to 80% of what I felt like my stomach was full, only to 80%. That was my new full, and that was hard because I felt like I was still a little bit hungry when my meal was over, and I wanted a dessert or something, and that was actually a turning point when I realized that I could get past that. So anyway, let's jump in the 10 things that you can do. So the first thing is you can do hand reflexology. So I'm for all these tips, what I'm trying to share with you are the things that help me the most. And I'm not here to be an expert on telling you how to do them, but I wanted to show you what worked for me. So I actually had a little hand reflexology tool. I forgot to grab it before this session. I don't think I have it in this room, but it's like a little egg, and it's got all these pointy things on it. The idea is that you don't have to have this one thing, but it's just the thing that helped me. It was a hand reflexology tool. So when I would squeeze it, and I literally carried it around with me everywhere I went for about 8 years. And what it did was it addressed all these pressure points on the hands. So what I want you to write down, if this sounds interesting to you, is just Google hand reflexology chart, and you will see the details on this. I don't want to get into the details again. I'm not an expert in that, but I will tell you this: when I had headaches, my middle fingers, the hand reflexology, the Korean type that I learned, basically says that your hands are a map of your body. You can access every body part through your hands. You have, I think it's 350 pressure points on your hands, front of the hand, back of the hand. And here's a map. So here's your head, here's your neck, your right hand, your left hand, your right foot, your left foot, your belly button, and your back. So if you think of your body like this, like an animal, kind of like this, then you can figure out where your stomach might be. Well, for me, so your stomach, here's your belly button on the inside, and so here's your stomach. So what I found is that when I had headaches, this part of my hand would hurt. And then as I studied with more and more people, I found that this is a popular hand reflexology point for digestive issues. So this was one of the things. So I started learning to massage my hands, and I also learned that when I had headaches, this part of my middle finger, because this is your face, kind of like where the pointy part of your finger is your nose, and then above that is your eyes, and below that is your mouth. So your face kind of fits on your middle finger, and it can be either side. So when I would have the really bad headaches, they would always be in the front of my head, and I would just press on this front fleshy part of my middle finger, and it would hurt so bad. And so what I found is that if I would just dig into it with a fingernail from the other hand, and I would just take a deep breath and press on it as hard as I could for a whole minute, and I was just breathing, focusing on breathing, 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 and then I would let it go. And what would happen is it would somehow stimulate that I would access those points in my head, and it would release pressure. Now, this may or may not work for you. This is just what worked for me, but I thought it was fantastic and amazing. And I spent hours with this reflexologist who trained me in how to use this tool. And the whole idea of hand reflexology was really new to me, but it was absolutely life changing because it gave me so much immediate pain relief. Now, some of the things I'm going to show you are going to be short-term solutions, and some of them are long-term solutions. This was definitely a short-term solution, but it got rid of the pain for me, and stimulating this part of this fleshy part between your thumb and your first finger can also affect your digestion, because this is your stomach area. So you're basically giving yourself an abdominal massage when you massage your hand in that way. So the idea here is just use hand reflexology. Learn about it. If it resonates with you, consider looking into it, because there's all kinds of free information, free videos online now. And that was something that really helped me more than anything else. The second thing that helped me was foot reflexology. So it's similar. The idea is you have 180 pressure points in your foot, and your foot is also a map of your entire body, as is your tongue, your eyeballs. I learned about eye reading, iridology. I learned that your ears, you can actually read your health through looking at your ear. Not you, but some kind of health professionals are trained to read your body in that way. So yeah, and the large toe on the feet is the head. That's right. Thanks, Giselle. So there, as you learn about these maps of your body, it's fantastic what you can learn, and how you can affect your health just by massaging your own body. Now, I found that when I had really bad headaches, at first, my husband was very sympathetic and he would massage my feet. And that was the one thing that I always knew for sure that could get rid of the headaches, is if he would give me a foot massage, or if I was working and I was traveling, I would go to a foot reflexologist, or those Asian foot massage places, and I would get a foot massage, and that would get rid of my headache too. But now, over time, I learned that the headaches were always based right here in the middle of the foot. In the middle of the foot, what do you see? It says stomach. So it was all around my digestion. So I wished that I would have realized this sooner. And I started carrying around, this is one type, there's many types of foot rollers. And so I would literally carry my foot roller in my computer bag as a traveling consultant. And I was on the road every week traveling to a different client site. And I would carry my foot roller. And while I was on the plane, I would roll my feet on the way there and on the way back. And that just absolutely made all the difference in the world. It also stimulated my immune system, so that when I got on the plane, I wouldn't, I would almost immediately get all stuffed up. But once I started using the foot roller, it seemed like I didn't get sick anymore, and I felt better. So, we could discuss what was actually happening there. But my point here is, if you've never heard of foot reflexology, that was the number 2 thing that helped me the most. Now, notice that those 2 things are not even food related, but the reason they help me so much is because they help me to identify where my health issue was really stemming from. So for me, it was the headaches in my head. And I had no idea at first that it was from my digestion. So the reason I'm telling you this is because these simple tools can be diagnostic in nature, and they can help you to figure it out. And I'm not saying don't go to somebody that can help you, but if you're looking for answers on your own, these are simple things that anybody can try. And they're absolutely, they were life-changing for me. Now, the third thing that I really, really came to depend on before I healed my gut, was taking essential enzymes. And this is kind of the cheap and cheerful version. You can get this online just about anywhere. You can probably get it at Walmart now. At that time, I was traveling so much, I would just order things online. And then this was a really good brand too, Enzymedica Digest Gold. This was a lot more expensive, but it had multiple types of enzymes in it. And I found that it was really effective. So for me, I would take it with a really heavier meal, like if I had to eat out with a client. But taking enzymes with my meal was the number 3 thing that helped me more than anything else. The number 4 thing was learning about betaine HCl. So this is hydrochloric acid. And what I found was that our bodies are actually designed to make stomach acid. We're meant to make it for ourselves. We shouldn't have to have some supplements in an ideal world. But as you may know, when your system's not working real well, it's good to have a crutch, and it's good to have some help, a little helping hand. And so this betaine HCl, I learned how to take it to figure out how many I needed. There's ways you can do that. I don't want to try to advise you here, but this can be dangerous if you take too many of them. You could eventually make a hole in your stomach if you took a whole handful of them all at once. So I wouldn't recommend that you're overzealous with this. Talk to a healthcare practitioner, or do a lot of research on your own before you take any betaine HCl. But I ended up taking it, like I would just take 1 or maybe 2 if I had a really heavy meal that had a lot of protein and fat. Like if I had to go out to eat with a client and that's what I was eating, then I would take that, and that would help my body process it. Now, these days, I don't have to take any of these things, because my body has healed and it does things on its own, like I think we ideally would all like our bodies to do. Yes, and apple cider vinegar can also be used before a meal. Thanks, Giselle. That's a great idea. If you take like maybe a teaspoon in a little bit of water, before your meal, that can also stimulate those digestive juices. It can help to break down the food, especially if you're eating protein or fat. Now, it was hard for me to put these in order. This is number 5, but seriously, I still buy this almost every week. Kavita, I absolutely love it. It's delicious. I personally, I don't like any of these flavors that much. I like the lemon ginger myself. I have one right here on my desk. I have lots of these. I love them. And even though I'm not a person that usually buys processed foods or I like to make things myself. This has been a lifesaver for me when I was traveling, or if I wasn't feeling well, I would always go into a Whole Foods or somewhere where I could get Kavita and just grab one. And they always made my stomach feel better, always. And I've given them to clients, I've given them to friends. And not everybody likes the taste of them. I personally, really love lemon ginger, but I don't really love the other ones. But you know what? They're medicinal and they work. At least they work for me. So again, no one size fits all, but these are the things that really help me. The next thing, number 6, is kefir. Now, if you do like kefir, I mention it because it's an old-timey recipe. I'll say old-timey thing. It's like the kind of thing that you might have heard about from your grandparents or your mom or your dad. And in the old days, I'll put in air quotes, people had their own goats or their own cows, or depending on where you grew up, in some countries they still do. But the idea is if you have it raw, then the probiotics that are naturally occurring in the milk don't get boiled out of them. And raw goat milk can be better and easier on your stomach if you are sensitive because it's A2, which means it's easy for people to digest even who have dairy allergies. So kefir or kefir is another thing that might benefit you. I enjoyed drinking kefir, and I know that I've had family members in Eastern Europe, and they are that's a common thing to drink in some parts of the world. So kefir or kefir, it's either way, it's a probiotic drink because it's fermented and it's fermented dairy. So this is my one of my favorite things. Number 7, Bubbies. And this is a Russian, I believe this has Russian origins, this company, but they're doing things the old-fashioned way, and then there's a reason why people, especially people in Eastern Europe, they were in Russia specifically, that's common to make your own sauerkraut, make your own pickles. And so these are done the old fashioned way with just salt and water. And so they're not vinegar pickles, but they are fermented. And so that fermentation makes them last longer, but it also has a lot of good bacteria. Now, there is a difference when you make your own stuff. There's what's called wild ferments, and that can be, I'll say, air quotes, dangerous for some people because you just don't know what's in the air. So it's better when you're making your own to use a what's called a starter, like a kefir starter, or you can get some from Donna Gates' company, Body Ecology. You can order them online. They're a little bit expensive, but the good thing about them is that it's a controlled ferment, is what it's called, and it means that the the fermentation that's going to happen in the product is controlled so that you're not going to get all these wild yeasts and other things that could otherwise contaminate your your ferment. And Bubby's, I think, is pretty standardized, so I've never heard of anyone getting sick, and it's just one of the ones I actually really like the taste of these kosher dill pickles. And if you like sweet pickles, they have bread and butter pickles chips, which they do have a little bit of sugar in them, but they're way better for you than the regular ones that have a lot of vinegar, because vinegar, unless it's apple cider vinegar, is something that I found that feeds the bad guys, the bad bacteria. So again, it's not something that you can't get away with once your system is healed. But if your health is compromised in any way, eating vinegars other than raw apple cider vinegar can feed the bad guys. So remember, that's the bottom line that I found, was just always you want to feed the good guys. So all these Bubby's products I liked because they feed the good guys and they taste good and they're easy to find in the store. I was super excited when I found the Gut Shot. I found this at Natural Grocers. So I don't know I even have seen it in Costco since then. And I've seen them at the farmer's market, but these are You could even use them in dressings, but they're basically cultured. So it's like salt water, salt brine with culture in it. So it has flavor and it's called gut shot. So it was pretty excited. I was excited when I found these because, again, they're probiotics, food based. So the thing that I learned, the principle when I was healing my gut was get rid of all the things that are causing issues in for me that were feeding the bad guys, which for me were the dairy, the wheat, the corn, and the soy. And always make sure at every meal that you have at least a handful, like the size that whatever would fit in your hand, that's about the size of I think your stomach. Anyway, a handful, which is usually like maybe a quarter cup of some kind of probiotic, a food-based probiotic. That's the best. So you can take the pills and capsules and they're helpful, but I personally found the food-based ones work the best. So these are all examples that I'm sharing with you now, food-based that you can find in most stores that can be immediately useful for you, or you can make your own. Now, if you're going to eat dairy, I really like Nancy's because it is organic. I think some of them are grass fed now. I found out later that grass fed is really important because of the fat composition. But anyway, if you're going to eat dairy and if you're just eating regular dairy now, switching to Nancy's can really help. And I'm not getting any kickbacks on recommending any of these products. These are just products that I personally liked and I personally researched. Now, you always want to do your own research, and these companies are getting bought out all the time, so there's always a chance that they could change. But again, these are the products that I personally trust and that I really enjoy buying because I know that they're going to improve my health rather than make it worse. It was really revolutionary for me when I learned about essential oils. And so I was never into all these drugstore drugs anyway, but there are a lot of things that you can buy off the shelf or over the counter that can be really helpful. But when I found that I could do the same thing with essential oils and better, that really got me excited. So again, I'm not a doTERRA rep, and I'm not trying to sell you on doTERRA versus um, I forget what the other one. There's other options, I'm not, but all I would say is there are some really good high quality essential oils. I particularly liked the smell and the effectiveness of this particular one that's sold by doTERRA. But the trainings that I went through with these essential oil companies helped me to see that the drugs are just a way to cash cow us in many ways, in many situations at least. I'm not going to say in all situations, but that was my bottom line conclusion. And I found that I could do everything I wanted to with essential oils, and it was not only a lot cheaper, but better for my system and simpler. And I didn't have to worry about conflicts with different kinds of medications. So for me, this was one of my favorite things, and I carried this around for years, and I gave it to people who looked like they were in pain or had headaches or gas or bloating, and I would just say, hey, I would slip over, just put this couple drops and do it like this and rub it on your stomach, and you'll feel almost instant relief. Almost with everybody, they felt it immediately. So that's how powerful it is, because essential oils pass the blood-brain barrier and they get right into the issue. I mean, they just it has peppermint oil in it, this particular one, and I like the smell of it. There were some other ones that were effective, but I didn't like the smell. So anyway, that's something to look into if you haven't yet. Is for your particular health situation, is how can you use essential oils maybe to replace other kinds of things that you're taking if they're not as natural as you want them to be. There's solutions, is all I'm saying. Now this, yeah, I think I already talked about this simple, portable, and effective tool. So the Digestion, I carried that around with me literally everywhere. I never went without that. My foot roller looks exactly like this. I carried this around, like I said, in my computer bag every day for years. Absolutely loved it. Those two things helped me with short-term pain relief without having to use drugs for my headaches. And that was because they were related to my gut health. But when I changed my diet and I started over time, it takes time to rebuild this good bacteria with all the things that I just shared with you. That is how I eventually healed. So that's the long-term solution. These were really effective short-term solutions that helped me to overcome it. So I wanted to share with you how to eat out and not get sick. When I was having some really serious digestive issues, my stomach was so sensitive. So I came up with some tools, and I've already shared with you a little bit about the enzymes and the betaine HCl. I would always carry, I had a little travel size thing that looked a lot like this, and I would carry that with me when I went out to eat. But the other thing that I would use, and again, I'm not profiting from this recommendation, but I did find this was the most effective, was this product called oregano, and it's oregano oil, and it's very strong, and you only want to take a drop at a time, because one time, don't do this is what not to do. I put a whole squirt of it in the back of my mouth accidentally, and it just burned my mouth, and it felt like it was burning my my all my sensitive neck, inside of my neck tissues. That was not fun. But this stuff is super powerful, and why I say use it when you're eating out. Like if I was going to Mexico or someplace where I wasn't sure about the water, or if there might be something in the water that might give me stomach upset, I would take oregano. I would take this little travel size. I used to literally carry this everywhere I went, and I would just put a little drop on my tongue at the beginning of the meal, because what that does is it circulates in your system, and it kills the bad bacteria that otherwise might affect you to get you sick, like with those stomach issues and parasites. Now, this is not the same thing as a parasite cleanse. I do recommend a parasite cleanse too, because if you have gut issues, you could have parasites. It's a very real thing. This is not the purpose of this presentation to go into detail about that, but there are people that can help you. If you think that might be an issue, there are herbs and tinctures. The one that I use is Barlow Herbal, and Jane at Barlow Herbal, barlowherbal.com. One of my good friends, and I feel like she saved my life with some of her products, and she has a great range of tinctures that are good for a parasite cleanse. There are others, there's ones that you could probably get at Sprouts. So I'm just telling you again what worked for me. So, how do we make new lifestyle habits? It can be really overwhelming when we think about all these changes, depending on how new some of this stuff is to you. Well, the answer is one day at a time. Just this once, or not today, are two simple words that I would find myself using a lot. So when somebody would offer me, when I was in the middle of healing my immune system, and they would offer me, a piece of chocolate cake, it was very hard for me to resist that. But I knew that all the white flour and the white sugar in it was going to make me sick, and it was going to really mess up my stomach. So I had to just say, not this time. I wouldn't say never, because I have been able to get away with it now. And I say get away with it, it's still not good for your health. And the other thing is, I've found ways to make cakes and things that I like that are actually good for my health. And so you don't have to give up things that are yummy. You just have to find different ways to enjoy things that are yummy. And maybe the recipe will be a little bit different. You might have to get used to it. But we make these lifestyle habits one day at a time. Don't try to do more than that, because it can be overwhelming. So, my challenge to you was, what are 3 things that you found in the presentation that you think you could do? So I'm going to go ahead and unmute in just a moment to ask you, but just a quick summary. So I shared my story. I shared the process that I went through, defining the problem. I figured out that it was my headaches were due to my digestive system not working well. And so once I figured that out, I had the long-term solutions and the short-term solutions. The short-term solutions were help me avoid the pain right now. And so I had the hand reflexology, the foot reflexology, I had essential oils, I had, all kinds of little tools. I found energy tools and things that helped me. But the long-term solution was rebuilding my gut. And that is about for me, it was changing my diet and my lifestyle, addressing the stress. I had such a high stress lifestyle, and I had a lot of emotional issues that I wasn't willing to face at the time. And I realized later that that was part of it. And remember, the biggest part for me was getting out of my head and into my body. I say that to you because I want to encourage you, if that resonates with you, sit with it, spend some time in prayer or meditation to really ask yourself, is this my problem? Do I need to listen to my body? And if you have pain, then I'm telling you, you need to listen to your body. Your body is trying to give you a message. So once I identified the solution, which for me was changing my diet and rebuilding my digestive system, which took time, it took about 2.5 years altogether is how long I felt that it was to rebuild my digestive system and my immune system, which I believe are interchangeable, because as science has since shown, everything starts in the gut, and it affects our brain health. It affects our mental clarity. I mean, there's so many things that I learned about. A lot of that was from Dr. Rita Maria Loscalzo of, like I said, the Institute for Nutritional Endocrinology. She's a great resource. She has a lot of free stuff online that I've really benefited from, and I've met her in person. I've been to her events, and she's fantastic. And she's got a lot of coaches, and there are people on this call that can help you too. And we'll get into that in just a minute. So you want to put together a plan for how to change. So whether you're working with someone or you're trying to figure out what your own if you're trying to figure it out on your own, as I was, you want to figure it out and decide, plan on it, and then make that change. And really what that led for me was cleansing and rebuilding. So stop feeding the bad guys, literally change what you're eating so that you're not feeding them, and start feeding the good guys. So you're rebuilding your health. My stepmom taught me something so valuable when I first started this journey. She said, all the health principles, they boil down to two things. One is get rid of the toxins, because the body can heal itself if you give it time and you give it the right resources. So once you've got rid of the toxins, now you refill it with the right nutrients and the right tools that it needs to rebuild itself. Just that simple. Get rid of the bad stuff, get more of the good stuff, get enough of the good stuff that your body can rebuild the way that it needs to, and you will find that your health will improve. And then once you do that, you got to maintain the plan. So for me, that's why I showed you what's on my counter today. I still do use these food-based probiotics, but I don't have to be quite as particular as I used to, but I've still adopted a lot of health habits that most people don't have. I like to make everything from scratch. I don't like to eat out very often because I don't know what they put in it. And even when they mean well and it tastes good, there's probably things in it that are going to be, not advantageous for my body, and especially for my gut health. So I'm conscious of it, but I can handle eating a piece of chocolate cake once in a while, and I don't get sick. And for me, that's a sign that my health has improved. I don't need to have digestive enzymes with every meal anymore. But if you have to have that, there's nothing wrong with that. Use the tools that you have, and that will help your body to get better, and also to process whatever you're dealing with. So that leads me back to my challenge to you. So I'm going to go ahead and go around. If you're willing to share, I want to just limit it to just about 2 minutes. I want you to share the three things that you've decided that are going to help you. And before you jump in, I'm going to say the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So I want you to tell me 1, 2, or 3 things that you're going to commit to. And this is just for you more than anyone else, but it's also for other people to hear what you got that was useful to you, because it might help them as well. So who would like to go first? Andrea, I see you unmuted. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I can go ahead and go first. So I feel like I'm already.
Sorry, Jay. Just Andrea was already starting to talk, so I'm gonna thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and do a timer so that so everybody gets 2 minutes, and it's just so that everybody has a chance, because I want to introduce you to a couple people on the call that might be able to help you, and so I want to give them enough time too. So we'll go ahead, and I'm going to put a 2-minute timer, and then I want each of you to go ahead. So go ahead, Andrea. What are 3 things that you would like to do better and different?
The mind, the reflexology for the hand, and the reflexology for the feet. Those are things that I hadn't heard about, the reflexology, especially being an indicator of where the issue is.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing. Yeah, that was life-changing for me. And you can always validate it with tests, but it's certainly interesting for me, when I started noticing that the pain was always in the same place every time I had a headache. And when I correlated it with the map, it was digestion. And that's how I figured out that digestion was the issue. So I know it can help you too. So thank you for that. And so Giselle, we're going to come right back to you. We'll go ahead and let Jay go next. So go ahead, Jay, you got 2 minutes.
Okay, I was gonna say the first thing for me, I feel like I'm already on this journey, But the first thing for me that really stuck out was the unaddressed emotional issues. And I definitely think that is something that I need to look into. I will say I recently have stopped getting headaches. I've started doing Tai Chi, and I think that has a lot to do with it. A lot of these things I was already doing or used to do, and I'm on a bunch of medications right now, so some of these things I can't really do right now, but as soon as I'm off these medications, I plan on resuming. One of my goals is I really want to start fermenting my own food, and I've been extremely lazy. So this is gonna kind of help kickstart and get me into that. Also, I'm very interested in looking more into reflexology. I know there is backing to it, and I think my kind of skeptic side, like I need to convince myself that this is real first. So yeah, those are the three things I definitely want to look into.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I think we just lost Pig, unfortunately. But thank you for sharing. We've got Giselle. I'm so glad you're here, and I know that you have a lot of expertise in this area. What would you like to share?
Well, I, for years, was struggling with what I thought was sinus headache. And then when I started learning more about the gut connection to what's going on in the rest of the body, I realized that these headaches, I mean, they'd be so bad that I'd be nauseous. And it would pretty well shut me down for, a whole day at least. And so it meant missing work, etc. And then I learned that with a buildup of excess gas, because digestion wasn't happening properly, or eating certain things like nuts or things that my body just wouldn't break down, that was the actual cause of those headaches. And once that was taken care of, the headaches went away. So I can certainly attest to the connection to the gut and how it seems to all go back to that. Your skin, the different, like with the headaches, all of that can be cleared out by addressing the gut issues. Also, the mind-body connection is so powerful, because if you're stressed, all the function in your gut slows down, and it's just like clamping it down. And so comfort food eating can stem from that. And so I teach a lot about plant-based nutrition, or whole food, like you were saying, being very selective with what you're eating, and also ultimate self-care practices, which goes into the calming of the system, the self-love, and just meditation, whatever works for you to calm and rebalance your system so that you are more relaxed, and your parasympathetic nervous system is it's all working for you and easing your gut at the same time.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and if you want to put your contact information in the chat, Giselle, then in case people want to reach out to you. So we've got time for some Q&A here, and I want to just walk you through some of the resources that helped me a lot. The first thing one of the first info products that I ever bought, and this was like probably 15 years ago, was this program called the Perfect Digestion Plan. I don't even know if it's still available, but it was amazing, and it came with a cultured ebook, and that was really where I started, and I learned a lot of the stuff that I put in here. And then this cultured ebook was something that I learned how to ferment my own stuff. You can find a lot of this information for free now online on YouTube, but when you do research, I do suggest that you really check your sources to make sure that the person that you're learning from has actually had results and knows what they're talking about. I mean, most people who go to the trouble to produce this kind of material, I mean, they wouldn't do it if they hadn't overcome their own challenges. But I'm just saying, buyer beware. There's always that possibility. And then I'll just note that Perfect Pickler that was the thing that I bought. That was you saw the big jar with the weird looking thing at the top. This is what it's called. It's Perfect Pickler. It's fermentation value pack. It was less than $30 for this kit. And I was able to make my own fermented stuff. And they have recipes and everything in that kit. So it really doesn't have to cost that much. And it can save a lot of money to not have to buy the fermented food to eat with every single meal if you're working on healing your gut. Some of the things that really help me, there's a health person called Donna Schwenk online. You can Google her, SCHWENK. She introduced me to the idea of making your own, I think it was kombucha and maybe, I think it was the kefir. She made her own kefir products, and so I made this really yummy kefir ice cream, and I got real creative learning about stuff. There's some amazing stories about kombucha healing eyes, healing gut, all that, but there's also a lot of stories. One of my roommates actually changed her diet and started drinking a lot of kombucha, and it actually messed up her gut. So again, I go back to the answer that I shared at the beginning. There's no one size fits all. And it's really important to listen to your own body to determine if this is going to be something that's going to help you or not, because all of our health is a little bit different. So there's some amazing stories of how kombucha has healed. And I started making my own and drinking it because I read these stories about how it helped people who had been exposed to radiation to heal, and they didn't have the issues that other people that weren't drinking kombucha, and it had healed people from cancer and all kinds of good stuff. So there's something about the fermented products, food-based probiotics, that are really healing. And I'll say, if you buy a lot of the ones that are in the stores today, they've got a lot of sugar in them, and they can really throw your good bacteria, bad bacteria balance out. So that's why I talk about the balance and just understand the principle and see if that makes sense for your particular situation. I also rebuilt a lot of my health using Dave Asprey's bulletproof diet. I wasn't super strict, but there's a lot of principles in there that really helped me. For instance, one of the things that I like the most about the bulletproof diet is this ice cream that I make called bulletproof ice cream. He actually calls it Get Some Ice Cream because when he and his wife were trying to get her pregnant, they came up with the idea that you need all these eggs and all this grass-fed dairy and stuff, so it can help your hormone levels in a good way, and also your fat levels. It's important. It taught me about good fat. What does good fat mean? So that was one of the references that really helped me. Obviously, we hear a lot these days about meditation for increased productivity. There was a particular video that I saw that really helped me through a meditation that I adopted and I started using every day, and it really was life-changing. There's all kinds of them available now on the internet, but I'm happy to share these links with you if you want them. Another book that that really helped me was Donna Gates. This book, it's over here on the right, called Body Ecology Diet. This was like one of the first books I bought, and she had a product that it's now gone so mainstream that you can even get it at Costco. But it's called monk fruit sweetener, and it's a sweetener that is, when I bought some, it was like I bought a container, a quarter of this jar, and it was like $40. And now I get these big bags of it for like $10 or $12 at Costco. So the fact that it's gone mainstream is great. It's really brought the price down. But my point is just that her diet, her book, this one book, really gave me a lot of recipes and a lot of information that helped me to make the changes that I needed to heal my gut. And then in the course of that, I came across this one, the Candida Cure, and that was where I learned what I was sharing with you about Candida being a balance. It's good bacteria, bad bacteria. You got to keep it in balance. You're never going to get rid of all the Candida, because that fungus that's in your body is in your body for a reason, because it's there to eat the stuff that your body no longer needs. So you can't get rid of it. You just want to keep it in balance. And then JJ Virgin, she has a lot of resources that I read about that really helped me. Kevin Gianni and his wife, Anne Marie Gianni, they had a lot of videos, and that's where I bought this perfect digestion plan. I bought it from the Giannis, and there was a video that I had linked here for digestion and raw foods, and they were healing their health for a long time and put together a lot of videos that I watched a lot of. So these books that I personally would recommend, that at least I'll say they helped me, was the Body Ecology Diet, the Essential Kombucha. I started making my own kombucha, and it wasn't as tasty as the kombucha that you buy in the store, because it's, that has a lot more sugar in it. And then the Yeast Connection, helping me understand about yeast and candida yeast overgrowth. William Crook is an MD, and his book is like a classic in this space. So of course I had to get that one and read it, and it's all interesting stuff. It just depends on how much you really want to get into it, or if you just want the practical stuff that's just gonna, help you get better. A couple other things that help me, L-glutamine is a powder. It's actually fairly inexpensive, and it's considered a sports supplement, but it is gut healing. And so I still take that from time to time. Oh, and I guess that's it. I thought there was another one, but that's it. So we still have a little bit of time if anybody has any other questions. We've got, I'm happy to try to answer them, or we have Giselle if I can't answer them. Any other questions from you, Jay or Andrea?
I'm
Yeah, I was,
curious. Okay, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was just curious of what kind of parasite cleanse anybody did.
Well, the one that I would recommend is one from Barlow Herbal. So if you go online to just BARLOW, actually I could put it in the chat, I guess, barlowherbal.com. You could talk to Jane. Her name is Jane Barlow. I'll put the address here, and she has a great, barlowherbal.com. Her name is Jane Barlow, and she'll talk to you on the phone and tell you, what you can, what might be helpful to you. Her dad was an amazing herbalist, and she is one of those families in Utah that has like 12 kids, and they're really into nature. And anyway, she took over her dad's practice when he died, and she used to only sell her products to medical doctors. And so right about the time when I found her, a retired medical doctor actually referred me to her when I was going through my healing myself of skin cancer, and I believe that her products saved my life. So I absolutely love them. I don't get any kickbacks from referring you to her, but she'll spend time on the phone with you, listening to your situation and advising you on what products that she has that might be helpful and why. So that's what I would recommend, but there may be others here. Giselle, do you have any particular ones that you would recommend?
There are several good ones out there. One of the Marcus Rothkrantz. If you go to marcusrothkrantz.com, he has some really good products and a good parasite cleanse. What I would like to say though, with a parasite cleanse, yeah, it's really important to do that. But when you're doing that, when they're dying off, they're releasing a lot of gases. Okay, so it's important when you're doing a parasite cleanse is to do something like enemas or colonics, which are like high enemas, to move it out quicker. Otherwise, it'll make you sicker because they are dying off and they are releasing the gases. So it's important to work those two together so that you can speed up the healing process and not have to, because that can be kind of rough when they die off. So I highly recommend working that with it.
Yeah, I would agree that I did coffee enemas for probably too long, for several years, but I really learned about how effective they are in helping the body detox, and especially the liver detox. So yeah, thanks for that, Giselle. That's helpful. And Jay, you had a question. What would you like to ask about?
I was going to ask, is it possible to get tested for parasites? Is there a way to figure out that you definitely have parasites?
I believe there is. Giselle, do you have any recommendations on that? Giselle, you're muted.
I keep being kicked off. Sorry, I didn't get all.
The question was, do you know? I'm so sorry. The question was, do you know of any parasite tests that somebody could take to find out if they have parasites?
I don't. There are a lot of similar signs to digestive issues, though, with the bloating and the gas and all that. So as far as where you can test for it, no. I'd imagine you could Google that and get some information. And also Dr. Rita Marie,
Mhm.
you know, she's amazing with how she can help you with that as well.
Yeah, I know that there are some other health practitioners that have health tools, like there's energy healing tools that I found out about recently. I mean, I've got several of them with me here, but none that are specific for that. So if you Jay, if you put your email address in the, if you haven't already, put your email address in the chat, and just say parasite tests, I will ask some of my health care practitioner friends and see what they recommend and get back to you. Because I don't have a good answer for you. The other thing you could do is contact Jane Barlow at Barlow Herbal, and I'm pretty sure she would know a test you could take.
Okay. I was also going to ask about pre and probiotics, and what your experience on that is, and if you had any recommendations.
Yeah, for probiotics, I mean, that's why I recommend all the food-based ones that I was referencing earlier. Let me go back to some of the, some of the examples of them just to be clear. So these are all food-based probiotics.
Yeah,
And
I used to do Kavita all the time, and I've recently stopped doing probiotics. Like I was buying homemade sauerkraut and kimchi, and because of the medications that I'm currently on, I've discontinued it just for the time being, because I don't think it's a good idea. And I was kind of having a similar problem with the whole kombucha. I think was just too much. I definitely think it's a balance. I was also doing acid basivius, and I think it tipped me over the edge. So I don't know. I'm just trying to get a better idea. Like, I feel like I'm actually in a much better shape now than I was a few months ago. They put me on steroids and I'm tapering down, but I had all of these issues before they put me on a single medication. So I'm still having a lot of the same issues. But I am doing a lot better. So
I'm glad to hear you're doing better. I really can't speak to any of the, the situation with the medication. I've always avoided medication because I've only heard basically bad things about it. So
I'm only going on medication now because I'm in an emergency situation. So hold on.
Sure. Well, you have to do what's best for you. I certainly would never want to suggest that what I feel is best for me is what's best for anyone else. But all I'm saying is I just can't. I just don't even know how to respond to that, because I feel like there's probably things in the medication that you're taking that are counterproductive, for your gut health. And so while I understand that there's a purpose for it and a reason, there's always the pros and cons. And from what I've researched, you just have to weigh them, and I'm sure you're doing the best you can. And I really can't speak to it more than that. I'm sorry. I can't.
I have a question for you, Jay, if I may.
Yeah.
Have you tried taking them like 2 hours apart from each other? The probiotics, whether natural food or like the drink, like 2 hours apart from the medication.
Oh, I haven't done the probiotic at all since I've been on the medication. I'm like, basically, I used to do apple cider vinegar every day in the morning. I used to do probiotics. I used to do kombucha, and I used to eat oatmeal every morning, and I would cut up turmeric and ginger. And I don't do any of those things because those a lot of those things are blood thinners, and I'm on blood thinners, so I'm not going to further risk my health. I want to get off all the medications that I'm on, and then I'm going to slowly reintroduce a lot of that stuff. That's my plan.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yes.
Well, good. Well, thank you all for your contributions and your questions, and I hope this was helpful to you. I am glad that you were able to share a few things that you could try as a result of this. That is my intention, is just to share some of the things that worked for me. So any other final questions or comments before we adjourn? Okay, well, I'm going to call it a day. Thank you again, Jay and Andrea and Giselle. And I think Giselle's put her contact information in the chat somewhere. Giselle, did you? Yeah, there it is.
I did.
Giselle at lovingrawfoods.com. She offers a free 45-minute vibrant health session and a free meditation. So yeah, you might reach out to her, and she might be able to help you with more than me. But I'm glad that you were here. And if you, like I said, if you put your email address in the chat, then I can send you the slides and the recording if you would like it.
I just want to say thank you, Grace. Really appreciate you doing this. It's so important. More people need to know how to address their gut health. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, you're welcome, Andrea. Thanks for coming, and I look forward to connecting again with y'all soon. Have a good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Thanks.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Will this chat stay open?
No, not once I close it. Do you want to, you know what you can do is click the 3 buttons on the right of the file, and you can save chat, and then that way you'll have all the information that was in the chat.
Oh, okay. No, where is that? 3 buttons?
If you open the chat on the far right bottom, you'll see 3 little dots, and if you hover over it with your mouse, it'll say more. And if you,
I'm not getting 3 dots. I have something else. It just says, it's just a send.
well, I can put in, I can, is there anything in particular you want me to copy and paste to the bottom?
Yeah, I was just trying to get Peg's number and email and Giselle's. I guess I can just screenshot and
Yeah, you can. Yeah, Peg didn't put her information, unfortunately, but I'll just copy and paste Giselle's again at the bottom so that it's easy.
Yeah. Peg gave her information at the very beginning.
Oh,
so,
she did? Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, then that's Giselle's. Let me see if I can scroll up and get Peg's for you.
Down at the bottom of the chat, where it says to everyone, when you look over to the right, it says file. And then next to that are the 3 dots. They're kind of hard to see. They're really light, but that's where they are.
Okay, and I just was able, yeah, thank you, Giselle. And I was able to just copy and paste Peg's information in again too. So if you wanted to just screenshot that last, open the chat and then just do a screenshot for those last 2.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate it. I guess I already had the chat open, so I already had the 3 dots. So that I'm still trying to figure out where the save is though, because you go to more and then
if you click on more, the very first thing that should pop up is save chat.
I don't get that. I get chat, meeting settings, minimize meeting. Do I have to turn it on?
Are you on your computer or on your phone?
I'm on my phone.
Oh, that's why. Yeah, I'm not sure how to do it on your phone, but if you, yeah, I would just take a screenshot of the chat at the bottom, because I put both of their contact information. I think that's your best shot.
Yeah, I did that. So
Okay.
let me, yeah, I should. Okay.
And do you want the recording as well, Jay? Did you ask for the recording?
Yeah, that would be handy. Can you just email me that?
Yeah,
Or?
can you just type, yeah, can you just put your email address? If you didn't, put your email address in the chat, and then I'll email it at the end.
I put it in already, but I can
You
put it
did,
in
okay.
again.
Okay, perfect. No, if you put it in, don't worry, I'll find it. I just wanted to, I wasn't sure, I wasn't able to pay attention to the chat while I was, oh, I see it, there it is. Yeah, you put it in here. Okay, yeah, I'll send you the recording, Jay, and the slides too. And keep me posted if you guys are able to try something that was helpful, and maybe we'll see you again on a future call.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Grace. And thank you, Giselle.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot. Talk to you later.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.